Everyone eyed the door suspiciously. Nobody knew who that knock could be. And after Morgana's interdimensional traveler Venom Witch brother showed up, this new person could be anyone. Furthermore, whoever it was, they could be dangerous. Another knock. Everyone jumped. Morgana spoke. "I'll do it." She crept closer to the door, her body tense and ready for a fight, her hand in a pocket. She pulled the door open quickly to reveal a person holding a paper bag of takeout food. "Your delivery is here?" they announced uncertainly, startled by all of the scared eyes on them. They put the bag down, spun around, and left in a hurry. Morgana sighed in relief and picked up the bag. "It's okay, it's just dinner. I've never been so happy to see takeout arrive." As everyone else started to gather around the table and get out plates and silverware, she added to herself, "Wait, that's not true." Francis and Zach Colston passed out the plates and silverware and made sure everyone had drinks. Atticus stood back from everyone, uncertain. Millie noticed and waved him over. "You're our guest. Have something to eat with us." Atticus shrugged and nodded, but kept the sour look on his face. Millie and Olivia made note of this and quickly looked at each other. They were both still curious about Atticus and did not know whether to trust him yet. Sitting at the dining table with Atticus, the normally chatty friends were reserved and awkward. Millie, Olivia, and Zach took some initiative to involve Atticus in the conversation at different points. He would answer questions, but kept giving that odd smile that still seemed full of disdain for them in general. Because of how much everyone loved Morgana, they made the effort. But eventually, everyone stopped trying. Morgana was focused on her food as she ate, which was typical for her. But as a result, she did not notice the strange atmosphere at the table until Olivia elbowed her. She looked up and realized how uncomfortable her friends looked. "What's wrong?" she asked, peering left and right. Lena whispered back, "Is your brother in a bad mood?" "Oh no, he's fine," Morgana whispered. "He's just a little strange. He's always been a gloomy, quiet person. This is how he normally is. He sleeps a lot, but he's not a bad person." Zach chimed in a low voice as well. "Does he hate us?" "No," Morgana shook her head. She jerked her head in Atticus's direction. "Look, he's smiling." Everyone saw that Atticus had the same sneer he'd had on the whole time, and they were speechless. Lena whispered, "Morgana, what are you talking about?" Morgana looked from her brother to her friend and back, then came to a realization. "Oh, I get why you guys think he looks mad. My brother has partial facial paralysis." Everyone took in this news quietly, realizing this bit of information explained a lot about Atticus. A while ago, he was injured by someone. It was unclear if it was during training or an attack. Morgana continued, "Ever since then, he's had a problem with the muscles functioning in half of his face, so only the other half can make expressions. So he may not look very friendly, but that's not it at all. He's in a good mood and has been smiling." "Yes," Atticus nodded, and everyone realized he must have been able to hear their conversation the whole time. "I am smiling." Everyone nodded politely, accepting this explanation for what must have been a difficult adjustment for Atticus when it happened. Although Olivia was sensitive to the idea of respecting a disability and also had her own magical experience, she could not shake the feeling that behind the facial paralysis, Atticus did carry an element of disdain and ridicule. He seemed scornful and arrogant. Olivia asked, curious, "Was Brent not there when it happened? Wouldn't he have been able to fix it?" "He did," Morgana replied. "He was there. Originally, both sides of his face were paralyzed, but Brent was able to heal half. He said there was nothing he could do about the other half." Olivia nodded. Everyone finished eating their meal together, still trying to make conversation, but still finding the air in the room odd and tense. After dinner, everyone helped to clean up the food containers and clean dishes except for Atticus, who went to the living room. Olivia frowned, watching where he went, seeing him sit on the living room couch and closing his eyes. Once everything was cleaned and put away, All the friends said their goodbyes and left Millie and Lena. "See you at school tomorrow," Olivia called to them as she walked out of the lobby with Morgana and Atticus. Olivia eyed him, her hands shoved in her coat pockets. "Atticus, where are you staying tonight?" "A friend's home," he replied. "A good friend of mine is staying in New York." Olivia raised her eyebrows, truly surprised that this person who seemed so antisocial had friends. "Oh, great," she commented. "That's good." Atticus bowed his head. "I'll have to trouble you to take care of Morgana for the rest of the night. Let's split up here." "It's fine, it's just what I do," Olivia smiled. She did appreciate seeing this hint of brotherly concern from him. "You have a good rest tonight. If you need anything, just contact me. I'll have Morgana send you my contact info." "I will," Atticus said with that same friendly smile again. She still couldn't help but think that it just looked strange. No matter how she thought about it, she couldn't see a friendly intention. "Well, I'm off. Be good, Morgana." Morgana rolled her eyes, dragging out her words. "I will." Atticus leaned toward her a little, trying to impress his words upon her. "Study the venom antidote carefully. You will need it." "Got it," Morgana nodded, then waved him away dismissively. "Bye-bye." "Bye," Atticus called back as he waved his hand and pulled up a hood as he crossed the street. Olivia watched Atticus leave. She looked back at Morgana and asked, "Your brother looks like he is the same age as us. From the way you described him, I thought he was much older." Morgana shook her head. "He looks young, but he was actually born a few years before Brent. He just entered the sect later than Brent, so he aged differently. In this dimension now, he is closer in age to us. He's a strange person." Olivia thought it sounded so funny for Morgana. Possibly the strangest person Olivia had spent significant time with to describe someone else as strange. The two girls walked in silence for a moment, then Olivia sighed. "Morgana, I keep getting the feeling that the road ahead will get harder and harder." "I feel that too," Morgana agreed, crossing her arms. "We were already on our toes about this Cybon Harney. Now Beatrix has called in the Venom King. There's a lot for us to worry about. I feel like people are advancing on us from all sides." Olivia took a deep breath. "That's not wrong, though." Morgana nodded. "I will keep protecting you as I have. You know I'm always ready to do that." Olivia smiled. "And you know I will do the same for you when I can." Morgana noticed something and suddenly stopped where she stood. "Olivia, look over there," she whispered and pointed. Olivia frowned and looked in the direction Morgana indicated. She saw a boy and a girl walking side by side and couldn't quite see from their distance. She squinted, trying to make out who it was. Morgana raised her eyebrows in shock. "I think that's Sam Feinstein and Cybon Harney." Olivia was stunned but held a finger to her lips. "Shh, pretend that you do not see. Let's go. Try to act normal." "Okay." Morgana nodded and followed Olivia in the other direction. As they walked, Morgana muttered, "Sam must be really desperate when he thinks a woman will do something with him. I can't believe we caught them, though. What a coincidence." Olivia frowned, thinking, "Yes, I wonder what they were doing out right now that we ran into them." Morgana shrugged. "We've run into people randomly before." Olivia sighed. "I don't know. Why are there so many coincidences with Cybon? It's almost like after so many, it becomes a little hard to believe. It might be more likely that it's actually a precise arrangement." "Are you saying," Morgana was stunned, "that Cybon walked past us with Sam right now is something she went out of her way to do? That seems odd. You really think she did it on purpose?" "I don't know for sure," Olivia admitted, "but it would make sense." Morgana nodded, deep in thought. She shivered. "Olivia, this Cybon Harney, she's a bit scary." Olivia nodded. "I agree. She might know about me or even all of us, and what we're up to besides normal teenager stuff." Morgana did not reply. She thought that Olivia was right. Olivia took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. Chris had warned her about Ciabon, and it seemed like she was circling Olivia on purpose. Now Olivia was certain that Ciabon was not the kind of person who waited for coincidences. She made them happen herself. Ah! Georgina wailed out from the bed in her hospital room. Mom, I'm in so much pain. She reached out feebly for her mother, who sat in a chair next to her bed. Jessica knew her daughter was being dramatic, acting like her minor injury was much worse than it actually was. Nonetheless, Jessica had made sure Georgina was taken to the VIP ward on the top floor of New York City's best hospital. Doctors administered stitches for Georgina's cut on her hand and said that Georgina was more than okay to go home. But Georgina kept flopping dramatically back onto her bed and forcing out crocodile tears whenever she could. Georgina was lying on her bed, clutching her blanket around her, gazing out her window. Mommy, it hurts so much. Am I bleeding? I feel like I'm bleeding. Jake sat farther away at the edge of the room, his arms crossed. Jessica peered around the back of Georgina's head to check. No, you're not bleeding, honey. But I am sorry you're hurting. Hopefully the pain will be gone very soon. She held Georgina's hand, sitting by her bedside. I think your anesthesia is just wearing off. Georgina wailed. Then ask the doctor to give me some more anesthesia, Mommy. Please, I am in so much pain. Jessica squeezed Georgina's hand. Sweetheart, are you really sure? The anesthesia is supposed to numb your nerves for when the pain is the worst, but you can't take it forever. If you do that, it will make you very sick. Georgina gasped and a sob choked her throat, though no tears were coming out of her eyes at the time. I just keep replaying that moment in my mind when everything changed, when my head hit the bathroom floor. I can't believe Morgana did that to me and that Olivia. It was all their fault, and now, because of them, I'm getting addicted to anesthesia. Jake stood up indignant. Georgina, don't worry. I won't let you get bullied ever again. Everyone has to know they can't touch the people in the Nevin family without consequences. Jake, Georgina replied, her hand stretched out toward him. You must avenge me. Jessica winced, but Jake looked determined. Don't worry, he assured her. Tomorrow I will find someone to deal with Morgana. She will pay for this. That's enough, Jessica interjected sharply. She felt more and more that Jake Nevin was a hypocrite who did superficial things. She thought that if he actually intended to avenge his cousin, he would already have found someone to take care of Morgana and sent them her way. His making a big fuss in this hospital room felt performative. Now more than ever, Jessica did not think he was an honest person. Aunt Jessica, don't worry. Jake nodded to her, his eyes full of fake sympathy. I will definitely take care of this. You can rest. Jessica sighed. Okay, got it, Jake. It's getting late. You should get back home and rest. Jake nodded. If you insist, I'll do that. If you don't need me here, you don't need to be polite. We're a family. I'll take care of you. Call me at any time. I truly mean that. Got it, Jessica replied. Thanks, Jake. You should really head home. Okay. For all of Jake's social ineptitude, he could tell that Jessica wanted him out of there. He turned to Georgina with a big show of tenderness. Georgina, you should rest well and listen to your mom, okay? You're going to beat this. Georgina took his hand. Jake smiled at her. I'll come see you tomorrow, okay? Just hang on until then. Jessica almost rolled her eyes. Jake turned toward the door, but Georgina called out to him, her hand outstretched. Jake, wait! Yes? He turned back to her, running a hand through his hair. She took a breath like she was steeling herself. Jake, be careful when you go home. He nodded, raising his chin. I will. With that, he finally left, closing the door behind him. Jessica rested her elbow on the arm of her chair and her head in her hand. Georgina, I should not have let him stay here so long. Georgina frowned, sitting up. Mom, what are you saying? Jessica looked seriously at her daughter. Jake Nevin is not a good person. You should keep a distance from him, do you understand? Georgina looked away, unexcited about the idea of turning away a man who was so infatuated with her, even if he was her cousin. Mom, why? Do you have misunderstandings about Jake and his character? He's supposed to be the patriarch of the Nevin family someday. If I keep a good relationship with him, that would be a good thing, wouldn't it? And you know I can handle my relationships with men. I'm in a good position. Jessica sighed. It's not a misunderstanding. It's his character. Georgina, you are still young. You have less experience getting a read on who's going to stick with you. But Jake is, after all, he's family. There was no need to be so uptight about it. Georgina didn't think it wise to let him go at this point. As of now, he was her only ally within the walls of the Marshall School. Jessica spoke patiently. I'm not saying you cut ties with him completely. Just maintain a distance from him to protect yourself. People can make really lasting decisions in a split second. I do not want you to be careless for a moment and regret it for the rest of your life. Jessica felt a wave of pain and regret as she said that. She was a tragic example of how a moment of carelessness, or a night of carelessness during a fling in the Maldives, could affect the rest of somebody's life. She loved her daughter, but she wanted more security for both of them than the life she set them up for. Georgina could tell that Jessica's tone was becoming more serious, and she wanted to mollify her mom, but also saw some room in the idea of maintaining a distance without completing cutting ties. Okay, I got it, Mom. Jessica lovingly held Georgina's cheek. Be good, sweetie. Georgina, in this world, only your mom can be trusted 100%. You need to remember that. Yes, Mommy. Georgina nodded her head. Jessica lightly kissed Georgina's forehead. Rest well. Okay, I'll try, Georgina replied. On the other side of the door, Jake clenched his hands into fists. His nails dug into his palms so much that they hurt. He never would have suspected that his own aunt would think of him that way. He had turned back to ask if he should order dinner for Georgina and Jessica before he left. But just as he was about to open the door, he heard them talking about him and decided to listen in. Jake gritted his teeth. His face was twisted with a sinister, vengeful hatred. They were both comparing him to an evil person. If that was what they wanted him to be, well then fine. He would definitely be an evil person. After he completely destroyed Georgina Crawford, he would like to take a look at whether this Jessica Nevin would still have such a high and mighty attitude about him. She actually dared to look down on him. The unwed mother with a bastard daughter that their family generously cared for? She deserved to die. Jake did not even remember leaving the hospital. His mind was filled with hatred and resentment. He had been planning originally to head home, figure out how to get in a better headspace, and report all of the details of the Nevin summer business to his grandfather, Jacob. But when he walked in the front door, he heard Grandpa Nevin and his brother Jared talking and laughing. This laughter made Jake even angrier. He had been out visiting the bedside of their desperately injured cousin, while she and his aunt had the gall to speak badly about him behind his back. And now, he arrived home to find his grandfather and brother laughing without him. It was too much. Jake felt himself grow even angrier. Grandpa Nevin's voice was full of praise. Jared, this tea is really something. You should buy some more next time. It's delicious, and ever since I've been drinking it all day, that cough I get at night is much better. Jared smiled back at him. I'm so happy you like it, Grandpa. I can buy some more tomorrow. Let me give you some money, Jacob replied. It's not cheap, right? No, it's not bad, Jared answered with a humble shrug. I know the owner of the tea house, so they give it to me at a discount. Grandpa Nevin nodded. That's very good. Jake scoffed and entered the room. Whatever. It's just buying some tea leaves. Grandpa, don't let him trick you. Jared frowned, exasperated with his brother already. What do you mean, Jake? Jake mocked him. If you don't know, you're either a traitor or a thief. Jared glared at his brother seriously. Jake, I just bought some tea leaves for Grandpa. It has nothing to do with you. Jake pointed a finger wildly at Jared. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. What am I up to? Jared stood up. Please explain. Jake scoffed again, shaking his head. Grandpa, don't be fooled by him. Enough! Grandpa Nevin slammed the table, rattling their teacups, looking like he couldn't take it anymore. He thought about how Jake was becoming more and more of an embarrassment. He was the oldest son, but was it really okay for this kind of person to be the Nevin family patriarch when he was gone? For the first time, Jacob Nevin was seriously beginning to doubt his decision to allow Jake to take over the Nevin family. Grandpa, I'm doing this for the Nevin family, Jake shouted back at his grandfather, confused and stung. You always take his side. It's not fair. Jacob shook his head, not raising his voice any longer. From the moment you came back, the first thing you said was to mock your brother. I don't see the slightest intention of you doing anything for the Nevin family. Jacob was suddenly hit with years of regret. He finally admitted to himself that he had really spoiled this eldest grandson of his. Jake's mouth hung open, desperate to defend himself. Grandfather, you don't know what he is thinking. Grandpa Jacob held Jake's gaze coldly. What kind of thoughts do you think he has, Jake? Jared is just buying me some tea. What sort of sinister plot against the family do you think that is a part of? Jared lowered his head. Grandfather, please don't worry about how he spoke to me. If there is nothing else to discuss, I will go back to my room. That's fine, Jared, you can go. Grandpa Nevin did not want the situation to continue to fester. He always believed that a family should value and foster peace. That was the only way to be united enough to fight against an enemy. All right, Jared turned to Jake. I don't know how I offended you again, or if you're just unhappy about something else, but I'm your younger brother, and I know it's my place to apologize to you. Jake sneered at Jared's sniveling, compromising attitude. He laughed in disdain. Why was this little weasel pretending to be a coward all of a sudden? Where did that arrogant bastard who claimed he would never let the Nevin family fall into Jake's hands? He thought Jared was so transparently fake. Jared turned and walked up the stairs. Grandpa Nevin, who was already unhappy with Jake, felt a burning anger in his heart when he saw Jared be the bigger person, apologize, and leave. He knew it was Jake who was making a fuss out of nothing, and that Jared was the one who was mature enough to see the bigger picture and take the initiative to make peace. The elder brother was just ranting and looking down on everyone else. It was horrific. It was ugly. It was unbecoming. Grandpa Nevin felt his temples throbbing in pain. His whole body felt like it was burning, especially his lungs. His cancer treatment was one of the most difficult things he had ever endured in his long life. He covered his mouth with one hand and coughed. Jake threw out his hand in the direction that Jared had just left. Grandpa, look at how arrogant Jared's attitude is. He's so full of himself. You're not buying his whole high and mighty thing, are you? Speak less, Grandpa Nevin replied and coughed again. I'm going back to my room. Jake couldn't let his grandpa just walk out of the room thinking this was all Jake's fault. But Grandpa, this is so unfair the way you guys always hold the past against me. I'm not looking for trouble when I walk in the door. It's just that Jared deserves it. He's been slacking in the company. Every day after work, he sprints out the door at 5. He doesn't want to work an extra minute. Even our receptionist is more professional than him. Jacob cleared his throat, trying to suppress his painful cough. I got it. Get out of my way. He had just remembered that it was time for him to take his 4th dose of medicine for the day. Grandpa, I know you don't want to hear it, but I have a duty to tell you." He tried to end there, but looked like he could not bear it any longer and added, "I know you think Jared is so perfect, but—" "Shut up!" Grandpa Nevin roared. "Get out of the way!" Jake was stunned. He had never experienced his grandfather speaking to him that way. He wondered when this situation got so out of control, with the old man favoring Jared Nevin so much. He didn't even want to listen to the words of his eldest grandson anymore. He wondered what Jared must be doing to manipulate the old man. "Grandpa!" Jared called out from upstairs, walking down them. He looked at Jake and then turned to their grandfather, holding something in his hand. "Grandpa, I just remembered. It's time for you to take your medicine. Here it is." "Yes, Jared, thank you." Grandpa Nevin looked at Jared, then back at Jake. Even though he was the patriarch of the Nevin family, he was also the grandfather of these two young men. His heart was made of flesh just like anyone else's. The difference between these two boys was like day and night. Jared was more talented, but also more obedient and sincere. Grandpa Nevin reached out and took the medicine. Jared poured him a cup of water and handed it to him to take the medicine with. "Yes." Grandpa Nevin nodded with a smile. Jared had always been a meticulous child. Jared's intelligence was also outstanding. His test scores were always impressive, and Jake had always been jealous. Jake's aptitude for anything always seemed to be average. He was a short-sighted, impulsive, hot-headed person. But Grandpa Nevin sighed. He knew Jake was his eldest grandson, and in the family that meant more. That was the way the Nevins had always done things. For so many years, he had intended to separate the two brothers. He wanted to send Jared overseas and keep Jake by his side to mentor him personally. But what happened in the end? In the past, if the two brothers argued, he would turn a blind eye or favor Jake. But recently, Jake had really been disappointing him. Jake snorted at Jared. Bootlicker. He thought Jared was really going all out to wrestle power from him. He had really underestimated his little brother over the years. "Jake," his grandfather chastised sharply, "go back to your room and reflect on yourself. You are not allowed to take a step out of your room tonight." "What?" Jake was shocked. "Grandpa, you can't be fooled by him." "Grandpa, get out of my sight!" Grandpa Nevin roared. Jake gritted his teeth and glared at Jared, but he knew the night was lost. "Yes," he replied, then turned around and went upstairs. With every step he took, his resentment grew even more. He thought their grandfather, that old fool, had gone soft-headed. Grandpa Nevin took a deep breath and suddenly felt tired. He was very tired. He thought about how if he really gave the Nevin family to Jake, based on his character, the Nevin family might become something terrible and unrecognizable. He also thought about having to face the long line of patriarchs who came before him in the afterlife when it was finally his time. He would be so ashamed. He thought that Jake could handle leading as long as nothing was happening. But if there was a slight disturbance for any reason, his poor character was immediately exposed and he would usually lash out. Jacob was really disappointed with his eldest grandson, his namesake. Jared delicately took his grandfather's arm. "Grandpa, sit down and rest." He helped him sit down on a couch. "Grandpa, the doctor said you can't be angry. Your heart can't handle it right now." "It is not that I want to get angry, but your big brother hasn't made any progress. He has disappointed me." Grandpa Nevin let out a long sigh. "Jared." Jared took his grandfather's empty water cup. Jacob looked sincerely at Jared. "I have wronged you for so many years." Jared could not believe his ears. He smiled and shook his head. "It's fine. It's been so long. I'm used to being in this spot in the family." For most of his life, Jared had just been suppressing his anger. It was only when Olivia formed a plan with him and told him to start with Grandpa Nevin that his anger was able to go somewhere productive. He truly did feel better about it in light of that. But he knew that no matter what, he had to win his grandfather over by continuing to be the most selfless, humble grandson he possibly could be. Jared knew that Olivia was his only real ally, and that their plan was a good one. His grandfather only knew how to play favorites, so he just had to be better than Jake. And Mark and Beatrix were not trying to tempt him away from Olivia either. Beatrix had not contacted him in a long time. Jared had nothing to do besides follow Olivia's good instructions. In the beginning, Jared did feel conflicted about trying to change his destiny as the younger brother. He respected Grandpa Nevin from the bottom of his heart. However, as Olivia had said, it wouldn't go well if he just asked his grandfather point blank to name him the patriarch of the Nevin family. So he did have to be a little sneaky for the time being. When his grandfather got his terminal cancer diagnosed, that made Jared feel guilty for trying to manipulate this man that he respected and loved. Even though he was still going along with Olivia's plan, he knew in his heart he would choose to spend his grandfather's last moments with him, no matter what. Jared continued to contemplate the uncertainty over the amount of time his grandfather Jacob had left. He knew not everyone got to live to be as old as his grandfather in the first place. His grandfather had lived with more privilege and to an age that many would rightly feel envious of. But life could be so fleeting and random, regardless of how much money or power someone had. No matter how much time anyone had, ultimately it never felt like enough. Jacob Nevin had late-stage lung cancer, and time quickly became a limited luxury. The more Jared thought about his grandfather's situation, the more he understood and empathized with him. Jared knew that life had not been easy for the old man for many years. When Jared was young, he did not think too much about how his grandfather treated him and his brother differently. It had begun to bother him more recently. The unfairness of his being the younger grandson, and therefore powerless in the family for the rest of his life. He had spent many hours and long nights railing against his grandfather upholding this foolish tradition that would certainly doom the family to ruin. Jared had tried to drown his sorrows in alcohol on more than one occasion. It was impossibly unfair, and he resented it tremendously. However, since finding out about his grandfather's illness, Jared felt all of the family rules were not so simple. His anger at his grandfather felt much less important in the grand scheme of things, especially since they did not know how much time they had left together. Jared now believed it was better to look forward in life and do his best to plan ahead, instead of dwelling angrily on the past and on things he could not change. After a long contemplative silence, Jacob Nevin sighed thoughtfully. At first, your great-uncle helped me with the family business, but his health had always suffered ever since he was young. He passed away much too soon. After his death, it was all up to me. The Nevin family business had survived many struggles, and it was passed all the way down to me from our ancestors. I could not let them all down, so I carried on. Grandfather, are you ever going to tell Jake about your illness? Jared asked gently. No. Grandpa Jacob shook his head. Jake does not possess the mental fortitude that you have. If he finds out now, he will panic. His experience and knowledge are far from where they need to be for him to handle this. Jared nodded. Even setting aside Jake's character flaws, Jake's ability as a business leader was also a problem in and of itself. A small business Jake inherited could easily be destroyed in just a few years if he was at the helm. Never mind an enterprise as big as the Nevin family business. Jared, Grandpa Jacob said as he looked seriously at his younger grandson, do you think you could assist Jake with no resentment or ill intent for the rest of your life? Jared pursed his lips and sighed. Do you want an honest answer? Since I asked, of course I want to hear the truth, Grandpa Jacob said gruffly. I don't think I would be able to stand up and watch the Nevin family collapse under Jake's leadership. I couldn't do it, Jared said honestly. If this is your final ask of me, I will do my best to assist him, but I guarantee you that after 5 years he will run everything into the ground. and I won't be able to stop myself from trying to intervene." Jacob looked at Jared for a long time in silence. He knew it was the truth, and that Jared spoke from the bottom of his heart. Jared was a smart young man, and smart people were ambitious people. Jared's ambition did not concern Jacob, however, because it so equally matched his strength. He knew Jared was up for the task at hand. The only fear he had was that Jared would break ancient tradition. It was a very difficult position. He considered what a cruel joke the world had played on him, forced to follow ancient traditions, and yet doing so would certainly destroy the Nevin family by handing it over to a complete idiot grandson. Meanwhile, the perfect grandson for the job was standing right in front of him, just born in the wrong order. And now he was running out of time, and the issue of succession was forced upon him much sooner. He could not outrun the dilemma any longer. If Jake and Jared were both mediocre options, it would be much easier to side with Jake because it made no difference. But in this case, Jared surpassed his brother Jake, and the future consequences were clear. The mountain of evidence against Jake being a huge mistake made grandfather Jacob's heart grow colder and colder. It was an impossibly difficult situation. "Grandpa, let me help you back to your room to rest," Jared offered. He saw that his grandfather was deep in thoughtful silence, and he wanted to give him a break from what he knew troubled him deeply. Jared checked the time on his phone. "The doctor told you to rest early these days," he reminded him. "Yes." Grandfather Jacob sighed and nodded. "Let's go." "All right," Jared said and led his grandfather back up to his room. After Jared left his grandfather settled in his room, he saw Jake leaning against the wall of the corridor nearby. Jared's expression turned cold and he pretended not to see Jake. He did his best to walk right past his older brother. "I didn't expect this sort of thing from you," Jake sneered. Once he heard Jake's voice, Jared stopped in his tracks, abandoning his plan to walk away. "I don't know what you're talking about," Jared said curtly. "I would expect this kind of behavior from an outsider. There have been loads of assistants and underlings who angled for grandfather's favor in the past," Jake jabbed with a smirk. "But you're different. You're Nevin, his own grandson. Aren't you ashamed of yourself for sucking up to grandfather with such a clear personal motive?" "Jake, you better stop right there and think about what you say next," Jared said in a low voice. He turned and stared Jake down. "Think about what I say? What do you mean?" Jake looked Jared up and down, sizing him up. "Don't waste your time trying to gain favor with grandfather. The Nevin family tradition is very clear and unchangeable. If you want to be the patriarch of the Nevin family, remember to choose better timing and reincarnate as the oldest son in your next life." "You are talking like you're guaranteed to be the next leader of the Nevin family," Jared retorted. "Of course I am. I'm the oldest grandson of the Nevin family. You're the one who seems to have forgotten that. I, Jake Nevin, will be ahead of you for the rest of your life. You will never be able to change it." Jake sneered coldly. "Since you are so confident, why did you come here to have this conversation and bother to remind me?" Jared smiled. "Are you afraid that I'm going to swoop in and take the role of the patriarch right out from under your nose?" Jake's eyes widened. He was stunned by Jared's words and he struggled for a response. The truth was that Jake was a little scared. Their grandfather had always thought Jared was smarter than him, and they'd only seemed closer more recently. The sight of Jared coming out of grandfather Nevin's room just then had only made that fear grow. "Huh," Jared sniffed and walked away towards his own room. Jake watched Jared walk away from him and he cursed angrily under his breath. He returned to his own bedroom completely embarrassed. "Damn it, that bastard!" Jake shouted angrily as he hit the wall several times. He continued to strike the wall until his whole fist ached. Suddenly, his phone rang. Jake looked down to see who was calling, and he drew in a sharp breath. He answered quickly. "Miss Harney? Hello, what's going on?" "Are you planning to make trouble for Olivia and Morgana?" Sayaban asked bluntly without any formalities. "Yes," Jake answered. "I was thinking about doing it soon." His voice wavered slightly. The truth was that Jake had hoped the situation would blow over before he actually had to do anything. "Well, why don't we set a date for it then? Let's say tomorrow," Saibon said. "Find someone to start trouble with Morgana tomorrow." Jake paused for a moment, trying to understand the motive and reasoning behind Saibon's instruction. "Miss Harney, did Morgana also offend you in some way?" "No," Saibon answered dryly. "Then why do you want to go after her? Shouldn't we focus on Olivia?" Jake asked, confused. He did not like feeling confused and out of the loop. It made him a bit afraid. Saibon heard the uncertainty in Jake's normally smug voice, and she smiled deviously to herself. On the other side of the Nevin house, and in great contrast to his brother, Jared quietly returned to his room and called up Olivia. "Hello?" Olivia answered. She was in the middle of drying her wet hair with a towel and leaned her head to the side. "I didn't expect to hear from you tonight. Did something happen?" No, everything is fine," Jared said quickly. "Were you already asleep or anything?" "No, not nearly," Olivia said and turned to glance at Morgana as she lay in bed and played games. Morgana cursed at something in the game and rolled over to get more comfortable. Olivia sat near the bed and continued, "Are you sure everything is fine?" Jared sighed. "Jake got angry when he came back today and upset my grandfather. Grandfather defended me for a while and seemed to scare Jake off. Jake only gave me a warning." "He was definitely bluffing." Olivia smiled and scoffed lightly. "If he really wasn't insecure about his position, he would not have tried to bother you on purpose and start trouble." "That's what I think too," Jared nodded. "It seems like my grandfather might be having second thoughts about Jake because he asked me an interesting question today." "What was it?" Olivia asked as she squeezed her wet hair with the towel. "He asked me if I would help Jake run everything after he died," Jared said slowly, "and I told him no." "You were really honest then," Olivia chuckled. "I think that honesty would definitely make him rethink some things about Jake. I told him that I would try my best for 5 years tops, but that if Jake tanked the family, I would have to intervene. I can't support my brother unconditionally if he ruins everything with his foolishness." Olivia knew Jacob Nevin must have given this some serious thought. Jared would be an extremely appealing choice to name as their heir instead of Jake. Jared was perfect for the job. Jared's grandfather must be in a real dilemma, Olivia thought. He won't want to break the precedent set by the Nevin ancestors. But of course, he also doesn't want to set the Nevin family up to lose everything under bad leadership. Olivia knew clearly what she would do given this scenario. If I were in his shoes, I'd choose the much better brother and buck tradition. Especially if in this scenario I'm already dead. It would be the best decision for everyone, and no one would be able to be mad at me for going against the tradition because I would be long gone. I guess Grandfather Nevin doesn't want to face that choice. No matter what, he is my grandfather. Now that he has terminal cancer, I don't want to lie to him anymore, or pretend that I'm fine with Jake taking over the family after him," Jared said. Olivia listened carefully. She was quite surprised to hear that Grandfather Nevin had terminal cancer. In her memories from her previous life, Grandpa Nevin was still alive and well and running the family. At the time, there was no sign at all that he had late-stage lung cancer. Olivia did the math several times in her head and confirmed that there was still at least 7 years left before she was killed the first time around. Grandfather Nevin being terminally ill now did not match the timeline of events in her past life. She considered the possible explanations. Maybe Grandfather Nevin hid his illness really well, and he happened to survive for longer than expected. It would make a lot of sense, Olivia thought to herself. Back then, everyone knew that Jake was expected to be the future patriarch of the Nevin family. Since Jake was just as awful in my old life as he is now, of course his grandfather did everything he could to keep from dying. Is Jacob Nevin lying about his illness now? "What would you like for me to do next?" Jared asked and shifted into a more relaxed tone. No instructions for now, but I do have a few suggestions. Olivia's eyes lit up. I'll take suggestions. Jared smiled. First, keep being nice to your grandfather. Ask him about the business matters of the family. The Nevin business is still very powerful, and Jacob Nevin has been very successful, Olivia said. Remember to humbly ask for guidance. You don't want to pretend to know nothing, but don't pretend to know everything either. Jared nodded. My other suggestion is whenever Jake is around, let him see you having concerns for your grandfather. No matter how much Jake flips out about it, you must not take the bait and react back. Keep your cool and choose your moments, Olivia instructed. The first one sounds easy enough, but the second one, I'm kind of confused. Jared hesitated. Just follow those suggestions and in less than 3 days it will all make sense. Olivia smiled. All right then, I'll follow your suggestions, Jared agreed. Is there anything else? Olivia asked. I should probably go to bed now. I still have to go to school tomorrow. Jared could not help but laugh. He found it amusing that he was someone who had graduated high school at age 14 and completed college in only 1 year. But here he was now, getting guidance from a high schooler student who was only a couple of years older than him. The whole thing felt admittedly absurd. What are you laughing at? Olivia asked. Nothing. Jared waved it off. Thanks for taking my call. Have a good night, Jared said and hung up the phone. Jared turned and looked at himself in the mirror with a complicated expression. If Grandfather Nevin really chose to follow tradition, he reasoned, then he would have to prepare for the worst. Olivia could probably help him temporarily to keep things stable, but she wouldn't be able to help for the rest of his life. Any real solutions were going to have to come from himself. Jake, Jared murmured as he thought hard about the reality of his brother inheriting the position of leader of the family. His eyes suddenly turned cold, and he felt certain of one thing. The power and responsibility of the Nevin family must not fall into the hands of someone as despicable as Jake. Jared vowed, I will not allow it. Meanwhile, Jake continued to sulk in his room as he talked on the phone with Sayabon. It's just like I said. Jared really knows how to put on a show, looking like he cares about our grandfather. It's embarrassing. Jacob Nevin's actual grandson pretending to be the perfect grandson to trick everyone? Jared was nice to your grandfather and you've lost your mind over it? Sayabon sneered. She could tell more and more each time they spoke that Jake was really just pathetic with very little promise. It's not that it bothered me by itself. It's that I think it was a low, slimy move on Jared's part. Jake retorted. You weren't there. You didn't see how much he was sucking up. He helped our grandfather get all the way up the stairs, and even went back down to get his medicine. He hasn't done anything like that in ages, maybe ever. He really thinks he can get away with it. Jake fumed. You're also Jacob Nevin's grandson, Sayabon pointed out impatiently. If you really feel like he's getting an advantage from being nice to your grandfather, why don't you go and be a helpful, angelic grandson too? Why let Jared get all the credit? Why do I have to come up with these simple, obvious ideas for you? You want me to copy him? Who does he think he is? Jake scoffed at the idea of taking Jared's pathway for anything. That's why you keep losing to Olivia and getting in your own way, Sayabon sneered. You let your pride and lack of imagination get the better of you constantly. Don't underestimate the power of showing a little kindness pointed in the right direction. Do you have any other ideas? Jake asked disdainfully. He was out of patience with what he saw as Sayabon's disrespect towards him. He hoped to finally stump her. Yes, Sayabon said as a cold look suddenly filled her eyes. It's an even better solution. Kill your grandfather before he changes his mind about who should be his successor. Then he'll never have the opportunity to change it in writing again. Sayabon sounded completely without any fear or remorse. She had no feelings at all. What? Jake asked, startled. Kill my grandfather? he stammered. After a brief pause, Jake laughed hollowly. Miss Harney, you really are hilarious. Kill my grandfather, good one. Haven't you heard all the stories where the hero kills their father? Cybon asked impatiently. What about Zeus taking over his father's throne? Since ancient times, those who achieved great things had to be cruel and merciless. There was no room for weakness. I'll have to think about it. Jake choked in reply. The next day, Olivia and Morgana walked to school together. They enjoyed the bright sunny day, and it was the nicest weather Olivia could remember in some time. The warmth on her face and the breeze in her hair were subtle, simple reminders of what made life pleasant. Days like this made Olivia so grateful for the strange, mystical opportunity she had been given to go back and redo her life, and more determined than ever to get the revenge she so sweetly deserved. Olivia and Morgana chatted as they headed along their route. Little did they know, someone had other plans for Olivia and Morgana's pleasant day. A car that was parked behind them on the street rolled down its window. Are those the girls? A man in the car asked. That's them. His accomplice grunted. He pulled out a photo and compared it to Olivia and Morgana. The one on the left is our target. The one on the right looks familiar. The first man frowned slightly. Isn't that Olivia Johnson, the CEO of the park company? I think it is. The second man squinted at Olivia. I didn't know the target was friends with such a powerful person. Are we positive this is the right one? Why don't you call up Jake Nevin to make sure? The first man suggested. All right. The second man sighed. He put down the photo and dialed on his phone. Hello, Jake. It's about the female student you asked us to take care of. Is she friends with Olivia Johnson? Jake paused for a moment on the other end of the line. Olivia's probably walking with her since they live near each other. Why didn't you include that detail earlier? The henchman asked and scratched his chin, annoyed. We didn't sign up to mess with Olivia Johnson. What difference does it make if I include it earlier or say it later? Jake scoffed. This is just a female high school student we're talking about. She's kind of famous depending on who you ask, so what? Who cares? You two are the best at what you do in all of New York City. Look at you two, are you afraid of Olivia Johnson? These girls are no match for you. The two men exchanged a look. The plan was to surprise the other one alone on the way to school, but this is a very different situation. The man frowned. If we cause trouble for Olivia, even unintentionally, that would be bad for us. We just got out of prison and we're not about to go back so soon. I'll add another $20,000, Jake said impatiently. Are you going to do the job or not? The man gritted his teeth and hesitated. I guess that's fine. That's what I thought. Jake shrugged. I'll come up with a way to lure Olivia and Morgana out of the school and to get them separated. You take care of the rest quickly and cleanly. Jake coldly instructed. Okay, the man answered and hung up. He turned to his partner in crime. We'll strike at the entrance of the Marshall School at noon. Okay. The other man nodded and rolled up the car window. They started the car and quietly pulled forward. Olivia and Morgana did not know that danger lurked right behind them as they arrived on campus. They smiled and greeted their friends like any other day. Good morning, Callie Wilson waved to them. Good morning, Olivia smiled back. How was class yesterday? It was all right. I at least learned something. Callie grinned. Olivia walked into the classroom toward her seat where she was greeted by the rest of her familiar classmates. Olivia, can I talk to you privately? Sam asked as he stood near Olivia's desk. Privately? Olivia asked. She pulled out her books for class and took in Sam's urgent expression. Okay. Sam motioned for Olivia to follow him outside. They left the classroom and moved to the end of the hallway. Camilla and Cameron were just about to enter the classroom when Camilla noticed Olivia and Sam at the end of the hall. What are Sam and Olivia talking about? Camilla turned to Cameron, who shrugged disinterestedly. You go ahead. I'm I'm just gonna go check up on something," she said and carefully followed Olivia and Sam. Cameron rolled his eyes in response and walked into the classroom. Out in the hallway, Sam spoke to Olivia in a hushed voice. "Last night, when I was headed home after hanging out at the Cat Cafe, I ran into someone." "Saibon Harney?" Olivia finished the sentiment for Sam. "She's the only one he talks about anymore." Olivia rolled her eyes to herself. "Yes, Saibon." Sam nodded, relieved that Olivia had said it first. "I stopped at a bookstore on the way home and I reached for a particular book, but the craziest coincidence happened. Saibon reached for the exact same book at the exact same time that I did." "You don't say," Olivia said dryly. "Where have I heard this one before?" "Crazy, right?" And then we had a laugh about it, but it was the only copy left in stock. Sam continued breathlessly. "Incredible." Olivia nodded, but mentally rolled her eyes. Saibon really needs a new playbook. "I was having my doubts, but it just seemed like, I don't know, fate. I don't know how else to explain it." Sam sighed romantically. Olivia waited for a few moments while Sam dreamily stared off into the distance. "That's all very nice, Sam, but why are you telling me this?" Olivia asked. "I guess I'm a little conflicted and need to talk it out or something. I feel like I've really fallen in love with her, but I'm not sure it's a good idea." Sam hesitated. "What are you conflicted about?" Olivia asked, folding her arms as she listened. "Mainly what you were saying about her yesterday. It sounds like you don't trust her. And then there's her, family background," Sam whispered. "This is the first time I've liked someone. I mean, really, really like them. And I don't know how to deal with this kind of thing." "I think you have already made up your mind about Saibon before you even asked to consult me today," Olivia said as she pointedly looked at Sam. "You already know what I think, and it hasn't done anything to change your mind. Since you're going to do whatever you want to do, regardless, you might as well just go for it. But remember, there's really no such thing as magical coincidences." Sam considered Olivia's words and nodded. "So if I ask her out, then you and Saibon..." Sam started to ask. "Saibon and I will be civil, but we aren't going to be friends. It's just that simple." Olivia shrugged. "All right," Sam sighed. "I figured that's what would happen." Sam was completely captivated by Saibon Harmy, but he also knew that there was a very little hope of Saibon and Olivia becoming friendly. It would be lucky if they even got along at all. He did not understand why he could not have love and friendship at the same time. There was no way to have his cake and eat it too. Sam had never felt so conflicted. "I'm very confused about my feelings right now," Sam sighed honestly. "I can tell," Olivia nodded sympathetically. "Sam is one of the goofiest friends I have," Olivia thought. "But I still don't like to see him so twisted in knots, especially over a manipulative spider like Saibon." "I'll let you keep thinking it all over." Olivia patted him on the shoulder firmly and walked back toward the classroom. She suddenly remembered something and stopped. "I just think it's worth repeating one more time. There's no such thing as coincidences. You just can't always see what's going on behind the scenes." Then Olivia turned and walked back to class. Sam watched Olivia go and felt more lost than ever. He did not understand what she was getting at as far as things going on behind the scenes. Just then, a dark figure suddenly appeared, seemingly out of nowhere. Sam thought Olivia had returned and was about to smile at her, but when he saw who it really was instead, he shivered. "What's with the face? Disappointed to see me?" Camilla teased and casually put her hands in her pockets. "Just go away, Camilla, I'm not in the mood." Sam scowled. "Listen, I'm just gonna cut to the chase," Camilla said matter-of-factly. "You've been at the school a lot longer than me, and you've known Olivia longer than I have. So unless I'm somehow way off, and I never am, Olivia is one of the best friends that I have ever seen, and I think you know that too." "I do," Sam nodded, but he looked confused as to where Camilla was going. "Good," Camilla smiled. "Then maybe you should, I don't know, listen to her when she warns you about someone?" I honestly don't know how she was able to talk to you about Saibon Harney for so long without puking. You've never had feelings for someone. You have no idea what it's like. Sam bristled. It might not be what you want to hear, but I'm just warning you, Camilla said with her hands up defensively. Saibon might seem nice now, but Olivia just doesn't hate someone for no reason. You're wrong about her, Sam snapped, but his voice sounded nervous with a hint of doubt. Olivia said it was okay if I asked her out. If you say so. Camilla shrugged and turned back to walk to class. She called back to him over her shoulder without looking. All I'm saying is if you ignore Olivia's warnings, you're only going to regret it later. After the third period ended, Morgana caught up with Olivia. Can we get lunch from off campus today? I'm not feeling the cafeteria food right now, Morgana begged. I don't want to eat at the cafeteria either. Lena sighed as she walked up to her friends. I really wish that place across the street was still there. They were the best, and you could just walk there. Tragic. The saddest thing that has ever happened, Morgana said sadly and held her hands to her face. Morgana and Lena looked at each other and sighed heavily at the same time. You can stop sighing. You don't have to convince me. We can go out for lunch. We'll have plenty of time. Olivia smiled. She loved any opportunity to treat her friends. At that moment, a classmate called over from where they sat by the door. Olivia, someone is looking for you. Huh? Olivia frowned slightly and walked to the hallway. When Olivia saw who was looking for her, she rolled her eyes in disgust. Jake Nevin, what do you want? Just hear me out. I know that a few days ago my cousin was rude and offended you and disrespected Morgana at the handler's house. I'm here to apologize, Jake said. You're apologizing to us for Georgina? Morgana suddenly stuck her head out of the doorway, bewildered. She'd been trying to eavesdrop on the conversation, but when she heard Jake say this, she couldn't help but interrupt. Are we asleep? Is this a weird dream I'll need to think through later? Is it really so hard to believe that I have my own limits of acceptable behavior? Jake asked indignantly. Yes, Olivia and Morgana said in unison. Jake shook his head, annoyed. My aunt has made me responsible for inviting you two to lunch as a formal apology. I hope you'll accept it. Is that so? Olivia scoffed skeptically. So this was Georgina's mom's idea? The same woman who looked like she wanted to murder us when Georgina's head was bleeding from the fall at Francis's house? That Jessica Nevin wants Jake to take us to lunch as an apology? Either today is the opposite day, or this apology is an insincere trick to try and get me to not seek revenge. Olivia kept a wary eye on Jake as he spoke. Besides, the Nevin family and the Park Company are both two important businesses in New York. We wouldn't want to cause a rift that would make doing business together in the future impossible. I know we've had our scuffles, but even I admit that Georgina was out of line. And she brought her own suffering on herself from the way she acted. She's still in the hospital and it's not a good look. Jake sighed helplessly. He hoped that mentioning two families would help nudge Olivia toward accepting the invitation. His true intention was to get Olivia and Morgana to separate outside so that his hired men could take care of Morgana. Are we supposed to feel sorry for Georgina? Olivia asked coldly. How bad is she? She's not too bad, but it'll take some time to recover. She has 3 stitches and a slight concussion. Maybe that will make her think twice the next time she gets any bright ideas. Jake shrugged. A concussion? Olivia asked. She decided to play along and let Jake think she felt a little bad. I didn't realize it was that serious. Olivia pretended to think carefully, then said, I think I can accept your apologetic gesture. I'll bring Morgana with me to look for a get-well gift and pay Georgina a visit. Oh, there's no need for that, Jake said quickly. I already made a lunch reservation for today at the new high-end place that just opened down the street from campus. It's called the Queensland. Please let me take you there. I already had to give them my credit card for the reservation. If we don't go, they'll charge me anyway. Let me consult my friend here. Olivia turned to Morgana. What do you think of Jake offering to treat us to a meal at that fancy place, the Queensland? The Queensland, really? That's the one down the street from here? Morgana asked hungrily. That's the one. Olivia nodded. I heard that they have the best seafood. It costs at least $100 or $200 per person to eat there. Oh, Morgana swallowed, her mouth watering. I guess we have to go then. Jake grinned smugly. Great, then I'll just... Morgana quickly interrupted Jake before he could finish. The only thing is, we always eat with our lunch group. It will be rude to our friends if it's just the two of us that go. Morgana frowned. We can't leave them behind like that. All right, fine, you can bring whoever you want. Jake rolled his eyes impatiently. Really? Morgana and Olivia looked at each other, and they both silently formed a scheme. Of course, Jake nodded. Would I make something like that up? Yes, Olivia and Morgana said together without missing a beat. Jake knew all of the people Olivia usually ate with, so it wasn't a big deal to allow 5 or 6 of them to come along. Anything that would get them to accept the invitation would be worth it. Well, I'm not making it up. Invite all of your lunch friends, Jake insisted irritably. Morgana turned to the class and clapped her hands for their attention. Everybody, listen up. Jake is taking us all to the Queensland for lunch. Jake's jaw dropped a bit at Morgana's announcement. He did not expect her to invite the entire class. Sorry, Jake, I forgot to explain one thing, Olivia said as she pretended to be apologetic. Our class has been trying to have a lunch outing for the last 2 days, but we haven't found any good places. Don't worry, though. I will collect the money everyone already expected to contribute to the class lunch, and I'll give it to you so you're not covering all of it. Olivia smiled at Jake. Gosh, I really should have mentioned the whole situation sooner. Jake looked like he was about to burst a blood vessel in his forehead. His plan to lure Olivia and Morgana off campus so he could separate them and leave Morgana to his henchmen quickly unraveled right before his eyes. On top of that, it was going to cost him a fortune to take their entire class to lunch. Jake watched the 30 students walk into the high-end restaurant, the Queensland, and he felt a little faint. Jake, we walked over here as soon as school got out. I didn't expect you to beat us here by so much. Olivia smiled, playing along. Yes, well, since I am the host, I needed to get over here before you all arrived, Jake said quickly. Right, well then, lead the way. Olivia nodded emphatically. Is our reservation in the main dining hall or in a private room? How many tables are there? Leave it all to me, Jake said tensely through his teeth and motioned for the group to follow him. Many of the students had only seen the outside of the restaurant a few times, and this was the first time that they saw the interior. There was a huge aquarium the size of an entire wall, and exotic fish floated around the blue water and bright coral. It was a stunning sight. Wow, that is so beautiful, the students exclaimed as they looked around the fancy restaurant. Everyone was very excited to be there. Jake led everyone to the private room in the back where they pulled out their chairs and sat down. The whole group continued to look around in awe at the immersive aquatic decor. As soon as the food arrived, Morgana picked up her fork and dug in, and the rest of the class followed suit. They all agreed that the restaurant was delicious. This place definitely lives up to the hype, Morgana declared. Olivia kept a careful eye on Jake and decided to listen into his thoughts. There's no point in dragging out this guessing game any longer, Olivia thought. There is no way Jake is just being a good nephew here. Morgana really has an appetite, huh? Jake commented out loud before Olivia focused her attention on his thoughts. She should be in the hands of my guys, not down here eating me into credit card debt. Sooner or later, she'll need to take a trip to the restroom. Women always do that, and once she does, my friends will be waiting there in the second-floor restroom for her, Olivia heard Jake think. Olivia opened her eyes after hearing Jake's mental confession, and her mouth twitched with anger. Jake is going after Morgana, and they're going to ambush her in the bathroom on the second floor. Well, Jake is about to be very disappointed. Olivia smirked. Morgana, would you come with me to the ladies' room? Olivia asked innocently. Sure, Morgana said and stood up. Jake saw Morgana and Olivia head toward the bathroom together and was filled with panic. He waited a moment, then jumped up to hurry after them. He walked as fast as he could all the way up to the second floor. Just as he saw them about to push open the restroom door, he called out to them desperately. Olivia, please, don't go in there. Huh? Why? Olivia asked, pretending not to know Jake's plan. I just need to tell you something first, about business, Jake stammered. Does it have to be right now? I've kind of got some business of my own to attend to. Olivia nodded at the bathroom door. Right, huh? Jake laughed nervously. Sorry, I meant to get a moment with you alone to talk about it earlier. And it was supposed to be a smaller dinner, but it didn't go that way, obviously. Jake said tightly. I see, Olivia said knowingly. So none of this was really meant as an apology? You were trying to trick me into a business meeting? You knew I'd never say yes to that. No, it's a sincere apology, Jake said quickly. Georgina did a crazy thing. What is it you wanted to say? I don't have a lot of time, Olivia asked impatiently. Jake eyed Morgana in the bathroom door. You don't have to wait for us. Please, go in there. It's just boring work stuff. Morgana opened her mouth to object, but Olivia caught her eye. Morgana immediately understood Olivia's silent signal. Okay, I'll go in by myself. All right, we'll just be out here, Olivia said with a pointed look. Morgana smiled and nodded. She placed a hand in her pocket as she walked into the bathroom. Olivia couldn't help but dip into Jake's thoughts once more. Morgana, you stupid girl. You're going to die now, Jake thought to himself loud and clear. Olivia smiled to herself. She knew how wrong Jake truly was about to be. Jake Nevin is such an idiot, Olivia thought to herself, amused. He may be evil, but he's still an idiot. She could barely keep herself from laughing out loud at Jake's smug expression. She casually answered a few questions that Jake clearly invented on the spot to keep her busy outside of the bathroom. When Jake decided enough time had gone by for his men to have secured Morgana and taken her out through the bathroom window, he wrapped up his discussion with Olivia. I should really let you get to the bathroom now. Sorry to have monopolized your time like this. When they returned to the bathroom door, there was a sign that read, Cleaning in process. Do not enter. Oh no, I'm so sorry. That is a terrible timing. I saw another bathroom somewhere in the back. I'll show you, Jake said, pretending this was not part of his plan. Okay, but if they're cleaning this one, where did Morgana go? Olivia asked. She probably finished up and went back to the table before they started cleaning. Jake shrugged. It seems like we would have seen her. Olivia relished in watching Jake sweat. But maybe she snuck by while I wasn't paying attention. Olivia watched as a wave of relief fell over Jake. She had to stop herself from smirking as she followed him to the other available bathroom. As Jake walked back to the private room, he smiled devilishly. He was certain Morgana had been carried off by his men, taken through the bathroom window and into their waiting van. He could already imagine the headlines on the news tomorrow. A female high school student murdered and dumped in woods. And Jake had Olivia as his perfect alibi. She had been with him the entire time Morgana was in the restroom, so she would have to admit to his innocence. Not to mention, he also had an entire class full of witnesses, so no one could accuse him of committing the act. Jake's plan seemed to be going perfectly. Meanwhile, the actual scene in the second-floor bathroom was completely different from what Jake envisioned. The two henchmen fell to the floor in horror as insects completely covered their bodies in a writhing swarm. Morgana sat by the window and hummed a happy tune to herself, swinging her legs like a giddy schoolgirl. She looked completely in control of the situation, and she spoke sweetly to her would-be assailants. If you resist, it'll just take longer. She smiled proudly at her bugs as the sounds of the henchmen's wails were muffled by the insects scurrying into their open mouths. Back in the dining room, Jake looked around and cringed at his fellow students eating their expensive dishes. He knew this was going to cost him a fortune. But the more he considered it, the more he agreed that proving his innocence was money well spent. An amazing deal, in fact. He felt much better about the whole arrangement. He wanted to make sure everyone noticed that he was there to solidify his alibi. I'd just like to say a few words if you'll let me. Thank you all for joining. As Jake jabbered on, Cameron and Camilla exchanged a suspicious glance. They saw that Jake had returned without Olivia or Morgana, and they had both been gone for some time. Millie saw the twins' expressions, and the fact that her friends were missing dawned on her as well. "Where are Olivia and Morgana?" Millie interrupted Jake's rambling speech. "The main bathroom on the second floor was closed for cleaning, so I showed Olivia to the other bathroom in the back," Jake explained. "Wait a second. They shut down the bathroom for cleaning in the middle of lunchtime? When the restaurant is completely full?" Camilla raised her eyebrows. "That seems kind of odd." "Who knows why? They must have their reasons," Jake said dismissively. "Come on, why are you so focused on bathrooms and who is in them? It'll ruin lunch. Who wants drinks?" Jake let out a casual laugh, hoping it would lighten the current mood. Camilla eyed Saibon Harney, who sat across from her, and wondered if she had anything to do with Olivia and Morgana's absences. Saibon felt Camilla's glare and responded with a sweet smile. Camilla looked away, but continued to run through different scenarios in her head of what Saibon might have done. "Your desk partner seems to have a problem with me," Saibon whispered to Sam Feinstein. "It's not just you, she has a problem with everyone," Sam said reassuringly. Saibon laughed lightly and did not argue. Instead, she looked at Jake Nevin, trying to suss out whether he had set a plan in motion. She and Jake already had their alliance in place, but she had warned him to pretend not to know her when they were at school. So far, he has done a good job. Just then, Olivia returned and took her place at the table. Millie saw that Olivia returned from the bathroom alone, and the sinking feeling that something was wrong came roaring back. She was relieved to see Olivia return safely, but she still felt worried for Morgana. Olivia looked around the room for Morgana and did not see her. She narrowed her eyes at Jake, knowing full well that he believed his plan to hurt Morgana had gone off without a hitch. "Jake, where's Morgana?" she asked. "I have no idea. Why does everyone think I know what's going on in the bathrooms at this place?" Jake laughed nervously. "I haven't seen her since you and I saw her go into the bathroom." "Well, it's not like she could just suddenly disappear or something like that." Lena stood up impatiently. "I'll go look for her." At that moment, the waiter brought more dishes that Morgana had ordered and set them down near her place setting. "Excuse me, sir, do you have any surveillance cameras in the hallways here? One of our good friends has not come back from the restroom," Jake said to the waiter. He made a show of his concern. "A girl is missing and we need to take action," he said, and slammed his hand on the table for dramatic effect. "Disappeared?" the waiter asked, stunned. He had no idea what was going on. "We do have surveillance cameras here. Would you like me to check them?" "Yes, please check them at once," Jake ordered. He already knew that this restaurant had surveillance cameras on the main floor and throughout the interiors, but not in the bathrooms or outside the bathroom window where Morgana was disposed of. Once the job was done, there would be no evidence, and no one would ever know what happened to Morgana. Jake did the math in his head, and he figured it should be done by now. "You said your friend went to the restroom?" the waiter asked. "That's right, but it's been so long," Lena spoke up. "I think we should just go and look for her ourselves." "Then let's split up," Jake said passionately. He was confident his men would be long gone with Morgana's body by now. "Olivia, you come with me to look at the security footage. Everyone else can split up and look for Morgana." Everyone agreed and hurried to arrange themselves into search teams. As soon as they were about to leave, they heard a familiar voice. "Where are you guys going? I'm not done with my food." Morgana? Everyone exclaimed. They all heaved a sigh of relief. Where did you go? Lena asked. Why did you take so long? Millie chimed in. Oh, it was so random. I ran into somebody I know and we chatted for a while. Morgana smiled. I'm fine. Everything is fine. Please sit down and keep eating. That's so nice you're all worried about me. She sat back in her seat and enthusiastically picked up her fork. Jake stood there completely stunned at the sight of Morgana smiling and eating in a very alive way. Not at all dead. He could not understand how this was possible. Morgana's body should be on the way to the woods by then. Jake, why are you looking at me like that? Is something wrong? Morgana asked innocently. No, everything is fine. Jake quickly smiled as sweat beaded on his brow. Please, eat. Don't mind if I do. Morgana grinned and took another big bite. Jake felt like he was going to throw up. The hired man had clearly taken his money and run, he concluded. He could not believe they refused to handle a little girl in high school. They must have a death wish, he thought. Olivia and the rest of her friends continued to eat and drink, and once they all had had enough, Olivia collected a contribution of $20 from each person. That was the price they had agreed upon for their upcoming class outing. And since this restaurant charged $100 for even some of their appetizers, everyone agreed it was well worth it to contribute to the bill. Olivia handed the wad of cash to Jake. Here you go. This was probably the best class lunch we've ever had. Thank you for planning it and hosting it at such an amazing place. It was my pleasure, Jake choked out through gritted teeth. Time to go, Morgana said, and linked arms with Olivia as they walked out with the rest of their classmates. Jake remained rooted where he stood, completely flabbergasted as to how Morgana was still alive. Just then, the waiter returned and handed Jake the bill. You had a $1,000 deposit filed with us, so that leaves a $3,694 balance. Would you like to pay with a card or cash? Jake quickly did the math on the cash Olivia had handed them. With $15 in the class, she would have collected approximately $300, barely a dent in today's bill. Card, Jake grunted, as if he had been kicked in the chest. His eyes flashed red with rage. He would never let Olivia and Morgana go. Not after this. And he would hunt down those two henchmen who had taken his money and done nothing. Little did Jake know that no matter how long he searched all of New York City, he would never find the two men he had hired. In fact, it was as if the two men had completely vanished off the face of the earth. Not even their corpses were left behind. Morgana's insects were still licking their mandibles after devouring every last inch of the men who tried to murder her. Oblivious to the double murder Morgana had committed under their noses, the Marshall students came back to school after lunch. They faced an afternoon of practice AP exams to try to get ready for the end of the school year, when they'd have to endure the real thing. When the final bell rang, they all hurried out of the classroom and out of the building as quickly as possible, wishing to put as much distance as possible between themselves and the whole experience. Lena turned to Olivia, Millie, Morgana, Francis, and the Pell twins. How did it go for you guys? Olivia shrugged. English is pretty easy. I'm more worried about the math test tomorrow. She frowned, her mind clouded with worry about the prospect of her most hated subject the next day. Millie nodded. Yeah, I agree, she said, even though her friends knew she would breeze through it and was just being modest. Lena smiled. Just grateful that the day's exam was over. I thought today went well too. Let's get cupcakes together to celebrate. Morgana lit up. Yes, cupcakes. I couldn't care less about the exams, but now you're talking about something that really matters. Camilla gave a knowing look to Cameron. You guys can go. We have some things to take care of. Olivia nodded. Saibon Harney had suddenly appeared in New York, and the Crawford family was still secretly watching Millie. Camilla and Cameron had a lot of things to do indeed. Camilla and Cameron said goodbye to everyone, with Cameron and Millie sharing an extra long smile. He signed, See you tomorrow. and she signed the same thing back to him. Suddenly, a boy with flushed cheeks ran up to them, looking nervous. He stood uncomfortably close to Millie, completely ignoring everyone else. He breathed through his mouth. Millie frowned, taking a step back. "Can I help you?" She squinted, trying to recognize the boy. She had to admit he looked familiar, but she couldn't seem to place him. Cameron hadn't left yet, and he turned back, watching this, his body tense. The boy nodded, licking his lips. I'm Dexter Hollingsworth. I came to see you a little while ago." "Oh, right," Millie remembered, suddenly feeling pity for this strange person. He was a year younger than them, and he came to see her on the first day of school, saying he admired her. Cameron frowned slightly, trying to assess whether Dexter was dangerous. "What do you want?" Millie asked Dexter. He loudly gulped. I just want to say, I know the seniors are doing mock exams this week. You must be very stressed. So good luck, Millie, and also, I've been watching you. I thought that I had something that might make you feel better." He swung his backpack forward, unzipping it, causing Millie and her friends to tense up, on guard. He pulled out a bundle of 3 smashed roses. "These are for you." He held them out. She took them, trying to suppress her confusion. "Thank you, Dexter. I'm so happy you like them." He stared wide-eyed into her eyes. "Good luck with your exams, Millicent." He turned on his heel and hurried away from them. Nobody said anything for a beat, completely stunned. Then Lena looked at Millie, worried. "So he definitely has an altar dedicated to you in his house. Do you think he's already got a lock of your hair?" Olivia watched Dexter disappear as he walked away from them. He was probably harmless, just a schoolboy with a crush. But just in case, Olivia would keep an eye on him from then on. Camilla rolled up her sleeves. "How dare he give you flowers in front of my brother? I have to teach him a lesson." As she took a step to follow after Dexter, Cameron grabbed her upper arm and pulled her back to him. Cameron knew what it was like to be in love with Millie and felt sorry for this young boy that he would never get to experience her love in return. Millie looked at the broken flowers in her hand, worried about holding them any longer than she had to. "Let's go eat. Where are we going to eat?" Olivia grimaced. "Let's go to that bakery nearby and get cupcakes to go so we can get to studying. The math test tomorrow is my nemesis." Lena raised her eyebrows at Olivia and mumbled, "One of your nemesises." "Is that right?" Millie nodded. "Nemesis," Francis suggested. "Why don't you all come to my house to study?" Olivia lit up. "Yes, that sounds great. After the bakery, we head to the handler's house to study." Lena looked thoughtful. "It's too bad Sam Feinstein isn't here. He's always so enthusiastic about study groups." When Lena said this, everyone else got quiet. They hadn't seen a lot of Sam recently, and everyone knew he was distracted with someone he shouldn't be. Sayabon. Millie smiled and waved her hand. "It's fine. We don't need to talk about that anymore. Let's go and eat and think about what matters right now." Everyone agreed. Not far away from them, Sam Feinstein saw Olivia and the rest of the group walking away from the school with smiles on their faces. He felt left out and disappointed that he was apart from his friends. Sayabon walked out of the school building and smiled at Sam. "You waited a long time for me, didn't you? You're so sweet." He smiled back, happy to see her. "It wasn't too long. I bet you're hungry, right? Let's go get something to eat." "Oh, I'm sorry, Sam." She clasped her hands in front of her face and smiled apologetically. "I don't really eat in between meals." "Oh, okay," Sam replied. He was very hungry after the long exam and hadn't eaten much for lunch since he was so nervous. She shrugged. "It's okay if you're hungry. I can come with you while you eat." "No need," Sam smiled. "I'll take you home." "Okay." Sayabon nodded and looked at Sam with a face full of admiration. "Sam, you really know how to take care of people. Since I've come to New York, the happiest part of it for me has been that I got to meet you. Without you, I really don't know what I'd do." Sam blushed. Is that so? I'm so happy to hear that, Sayabon. Let's go." Saibon nodded and walked off the school grounds side by side with Sam. From afar, Saibon saw Olivia and her friends walking away. She turned to Sam. "Isn't that Olivia and the rest of your friends, Sam? Do you want to go say hi to them?" Sam lowered his eyes, looking away. "Oh, it's fine. No need." Saibon eyed him suspiciously. She saw the corner of his mouth twitch slightly. "Oh, okay, Sam." She did not speak anymore after that. After leaving the school gates, Olivia and her group turned left, and Sam and Saibon turned right. Sam had a very bad feeling, realizing that being separated from his friends made him feel incredibly disappointed. He was on the outside. Sam and Saibon came to the intersection where she had insisted he part ways with her instead of going farther out of his way. They smiled at each other, and he remembered what the upside was of being separated from his friends. Saibon, in all her beauty, looking at him adoringly. He gave her a nod and turned to leave. "See you tomorrow, Saibon." "Wait a minute." She reached her hand out to stop him as he turned away from her. "Sam, if it's because of me that you are feeling sad, I'm willing to take a step back." Saibon stopped talking and looked down at her feet pitifully. Just as Saibon had expected, Sam quickly began to protest. No, not at all." He looked up and he saw tears rolling down her cheeks, leaving glistening trails. "If it was me who made you sad, I would leave in a heartbeat, just like I'd never been here." She frowned slightly, like she was trying to stop herself from breaking down, but her voice trembled and her tears continued to fall from her eyes. Sam felt a dry lump in his throat. He couldn't bring himself to make a sound and felt like he had trouble breathing. This incredible girl was this upset for him? "Goodbye, Sam," she whispered and turned to leave. "Wait a minute." He reached out and grabbed her hand. "It's not because of you. Please don't think that." She looked up at him with teary eyes and wet lashes. "Really?" He felt confused, but knew that he could not let this beautiful person feel this way because of him. "Yeah, it's not because of you at all. It has nothing to do with you." "Are you sure?" she asked as she wiped away the tears on her face. She looked up at Sam, slightly parting her lips. He nodded. "Yeah, I'm sure." Unbeknownst to Sam, Saibon was calculating every detail about this moment, knowing that her timing was just right. Camilla and Cameron had just turned a corner across the street, and now were in view of Saibon and Sam. Saibon knew they had been following her, and now she just needed Sam Feinstein to kiss her, where they could see. Saibon knew their reaction to the kiss would be delicious, and it would be all over. Her goal for the day would have been achieved. Sam noticed that Saibon was giving him a look girls gave when they wanted to be kissed. She took another step toward him and he swallowed. Sam's brain went fuzzy as he realized he was supposed to make a decision. See you tomorrow," he said as he took a step back from her. What? Saibon was stunned. Nowhere within her calculations had she considered that this was the way Sam Feinstein would ever react. Was he really turning down the opportunity to kiss her? Sam reached out and tousled Saibon's hair like she was a younger sibling. "Don't study too much, Saibon. I hope you get some rest." Saibon glanced over at Camille and Cameron walking past them. What was this idiot Sam doing? How could this loser mess up her plans this time? She laughed tightly. Sam, that... Sam looked at Saibon, not understanding. "What is it?" "You..." She took a step toward him again, pretending to twist her ankle, and threw herself into Sam's arms. She knew that no matter what, she could not let this idiot ruin her plan. Sam held Saibon and asked, "Are you all right?" She looked up into his eyes, composing the face of a distressed damsel who was purely helpless. "I twisted my ankle. It hurts so much." He held her farther from his body, trying to help her onto her feet. "Oh no, here, let's see if you can walk." She resisted, trying to stay against his body. "I like being here in your arms." He looked alarmed. I'm just trying to see if we need to take you to the hospital." She turned away from him, rolling her eyes as she pretended to gingerly take a step, holding his hand. He nodded encouragingly. "See if you can take 2 steps." She wavered, trying to fall into his arms again, but he grabbed her other hand. "Hold on. Let's make sure you didn't break anything. Just hold my hands tight." Saibon noticed that Camilla and Cameron still stood on the opposite side of the street, watching her and Sam. This time, she had to execute her original plan no matter what. She spoke quietly to Sam. "Hey, do you really not know?" "Huh?" Sam just looked at Saibon with a clueless expression on his face. "What are you talking about?" She blushed and studied his face carefully. I just want you to kiss me. I feel so awkward saying it. I'm very shy. I just really like you." He smiled at her. "Your ankle is fine, isn't it?" She put both feet flat on the ground and shrugged bashfully. "I know," he replied, lightly pushing his fist jovially against her arm. "I could tell, and you look really cute acting like this. You're making me really want to kiss you." She blinked, wishing she could yell and curse at him instead of acting demure. "Then you should be gentle with me. I've never had my first kiss." He chuckled and shook his head. "Now is not the time. It's too soon. I want to take things slow with you. You're special." "What?" Saibon was stunned. "What did you say?" Sam rubbed his neck. "I just think that would be moving kind of fast. Even though you were pretending with your ankle that moment just now, you don't need to do it next time. If the time is right, I will kiss you. You don't need to try to trick me." His face turned red. "Have a good night. Good luck studying." He waved quickly and turned to walk in the other direction. Saibon watched Sam's back as he walked away. She was completely gobsmacked. This feeling for her was indescribable. After so many years, he was the first person in the world to ever reject her advances. What was even stranger was that it was such an odd experience, that she did not even feel angry at the way he disrupted her plan. If anything, it made her want to laugh. This Sam Feinstein, she thought, was quite interesting. When she turned around, however, the smile on her face gradually faded. It seemed that her research on Sam was not thorough enough. She felt like the silver lining of the situation was that she learned a lesson. Since she got that out of it, she was willing to spare this pawn's stupid little life. Camilla watched Sam Feinstein walk away and heaved a sigh of relief. Cameron reached out and touched her shoulder. She turned to him and laughed dryly. "Let's go, I guess." The Pell twins walked off in another direction. The next morning, Olivia and her friends all trudged back into school for the second day of practice exams. On the way into the classroom, Olivia bumped into Francis. "Hey, Olivia," he asked. "How's your back doing?" She was so tired that she just gave him a questioning look. "How did you know?" He explained. "You said that it was hurting when we studied last night." "Oh, right." She nodded, remembering. All of the test prep had scrambled her memory. "Math is my biggest weakness. I could feel my shoulders hunching the more my hope of doing well in the practice exam died." She smiled. "But how are you?" Francis shrugged. "I'm okay." He didn't want to rub it in, but was surprised the night before to find that he actually liked math more and more each year. Olivia suddenly remembered something much more important. "By the way, how is the planning for a gaming competition going?" He answered hesitantly. Good. It's just that..." Olivia raised her eyebrows, worried. "I didn't expect a complicated answer to that question. What's wrong?" Francis sighed. Sam was the one who was doing the coding for the competition website. It was actually kind of tough for me to take it over at the last minute. Olivia frowned. "I'll send someone to help you out. Thanks, Francis." She thought privately that she had no choice after hearing that. Everything hinged on Sam Feinstein's choice about Saibon. Francis nodded and looked off into space. "It's too bad about Sam." Olivia stopped in the doorway to the classroom and noticed that Sam was walking up behind them. Frances raised an eyebrow and muttered to Olivia, "What a coincidence." Olivia did not say anything and walked straight into the classroom. She found her assigned seat for the practice test. Sam also lowered his head and followed her in. His seat was right behind Olivia. Seeing this, Frances could only sigh. Just as he was about to walk in, he saw that from the direction Sam had come from, Saibon was standing there smiling. Saibon seemed almost to be pleased by the rift between Sam and Olivia. Frances frowned as he watched her. Suddenly, their gazes met for a moment before Saibon walked right past him into the classroom. Frances blinked, shrugged off the moment, and found his own seat. He looked at Sam and frowned, wondering if this was all really worth it to Sam. From the outside, he could see that Sam was not happy at all with leaving their group of friends. He felt like he could already see that Sam had less confidence when he was normally such a secure, happy guy. The current Sam Feinstein, he could tell, was not happy at all. It would be fine if it was for true love, but Frances doubted that Saibon really liked Sam at all. The other night, Frances had asked his mother if he knew of Saibon Harney. As a Watson herself, Cornelia was very familiar with the upper-class families in Europe, so he figured she might know something. As soon as she had heard mention of the name Harney, Cornelia had warned Frances with a stern expression, "Stay away from anyone in the Harney family. Even if you meet a dog belonging to the Harney family, you must stay away from them." Frances had felt like his mom must be exaggerating, but he knew that there must be a reason for her to be so nervous. As the bell rang and the official period for the test exam began, Adam Reed entered and started to pass out papers. After every student had one, they all flipped their tests simultaneously and picked up their pencils. The rest of the exam was completely silent for hours, except for the scratching of pencils on paper. At first, Sam's eyes were locked on the paper, but after he answered a couple of questions, his worries began to take over. He had been so preoccupied by the conflict between him and his friends. And now, sitting directly behind Olivia, he couldn't help but glance up at her. He thought that she might have understood the complicated feelings in his heart. The back of Olivia's neck prickled, and she felt like she just knew, somehow, that Sam was staring at her. She used her powers to open up her mind to his thoughts, feeling that familiar tingle in her temple, and heard him worrying about missing his friends, but feeling like he was falling for Saibon. He wondered if Saibon was worth it, but he liked her so much. Olivia shook her head, thinking silently to herself, "Everyone has to choose their own path for themselves. I have no right to interfere, and even if I did, I don't think he'd listen to me right now." She sighed and thought, "Sorry, Sam, I'm staying out of this for your own good." She trusted that he would figure it out on his own and know the right thing to do. Because if he didn't, and Saibon hurt him, Olivia knew she would never forgive herself.